Okay. Geh weiter.
Good. All right. So we're turning Beis Hashem. What's with him? He's free of any obligation.
I think Rabbi
Shy.
Come over here. There's plenty of seats.
We're learning in the pouch. Parsha Vayetze, chapter Koyach, Pasuk Yud Beis.
It's not labeled in there. Right. It's hard to find in there. You'd be.
No, it is. Wait, the first deal should
No.
here?
So we're dealing with the major event of Yaakov Avinu
Third.
leaving Beersheba, where he's together with his father Yitzchak, and he's going out to a distant, unknown sort of a destination called Haran. Well, and Haran at that particular time wasn't a particularly had a quote, peaches and cream situation.
I don't think it is right now either.
But he went there on the command of his parents and of his own desire to set up a household and a family from the descendants of Shem, in other words, from the general family of Avraham Avinu. So Yaakov Avinu leaves Beersheba and he goes on his way to Haran. And it's written in the Pasuk Yud Aleph that he met up with a place, Vayivgar b'makom. So to cut things short, this is a very significant makom. Rashi and the Medrashi Chazal and all the great early commentators tell us that this was the makom of the Beis HaMikdash. This is where the Beis HaMikdash was to be built. And Hashem made it possible for Yaakov Avinu to stay there. And instead of him going further, Hashem, as it were, made it come out that he sleep in that particular place. And later, Yaakov Avinu says, had he really realized where he was, he wouldn't have laid down Melechatchila. But we're going to see now that his laying down is also very significant.
Yeah.
And we have to bear in mind that the Gemara tells us in Masechta Brachos, that you can't call forefathers only three people. Only three people are called the fathers of the Jewish people. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. They're the three fathers. Why? Because come around here. Can you move in a bit, then? Just a bit.
I'll let him move in.
Come in on it.
Either way.
Because a father is like a central, he's a central source figure. And all the things that develop both in Gafne and Ruchnias from the father are like their central controlling figure for all the generations to come. So there's only three people that fit that title. And even though we have the descendants of Yaakov, the tribes, and we have leading figures like Yosef and other people, Nonetheless, we don't call them fathers. We only call them shvatim or other titles. Of a father is only three people. And therefore, Yaakov Avinu, being as he is a father, everything he did had a certain general mashmois for all the Jewish people, for all the generations to come. And therefore, the Midrash tells us in Pasuk Lech Lecho, and the Ramban brings it down, that Maaseh always siman lebanim. Any deed or anything that happened to the forefathers, and anything they did or anything they said, that is a siman, how do you call it, a sign, and that there's going to be similar to that in all the generations to come. A similar occurrence of that nature is going to be by all their children, in different ways and different times, but that's the way it is. And it's mashma in other places, apart from the Ramban, that the word siman doesn't just mean like a sign, but it means what we call a nesinas koyach, how do you call it, a giving of power, and that's what Dafki, because the forefathers had certain inyonim in their lives which were going to be so generally significant to all their descendants of Amela, that's a giving of power, the fact that the forefathers, being such general neshamas, such elevated people, well, they give power and they give koya to all the generations to come, that they'll be able to go through all the what you might call the trials and all the tribulations of the development of events over the history, and they'll be able to come through it. Of Amela, everything that Yaakov Avinu did is in the same way. Therefore, the fact that he left Haran at the time and the way that he did, he left Beersheba going to Haran, and then the fact that he met up with his particular place. And Rashi tells us that the word met up, or vayivga, can not only mean he met up with a certain place, but it means that he prayed there. Because the word pagia is one of the terms for davening. And everybody's familiar. All you guys are familiar, aren't they? Is he, are you looking into the Chumash or maybe right something here, else? Take a Chumash of your own.
Right here?
Chapter Koyach, Dov Ches, Pasuk Yudal. So, Yaakov Avinu, he davened, he davened a prayer, Vayivga, wasn't tefillah. However, what prayer did he pray? What prayer did he pray?
The travelers, that they should be returned.
He prayed, or he founded a special prayer. What was it?
Mariv.
Oh, very nice. He founded Tfilas Aravis. Avraham Avinu, he started Tfilas Shachrin. Yitzchak Avinu started Tfilas Mincha. Yaakov Avinu, he founded, how do you call it, Mariv, Tfilas Aravis. Now the Alter Rebbe tells us in Likutei Torah, in Shir HaShirim, the Alter Rebbe tells us that Tfilas Aravis is the most special of all the three tefillahs. And that would fit in very well with the fact that Yaakov Avinu is the most special of all the three always, in some way. I mean, to rival Avraham Avinu is very hard, to rival Yitzchak is very hard, but to be, as it were, a choice even more than what they were, Avraham and Yitzchak, oh, that's a pretty big achievement, and that's the infant, how do you call him, Yaakov Avinu. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe brings over there that it's brought down in in the Gemara, Masechta Brachos, that there's a whole discussion as to whether Tfilas Arvis is a Shiur or whether it's only a Reshus. Now the word Reshus means it's like a permission, meaning, you're not, if I learn that way that it's a Reshus, then it's not a Shiur that you don't marry. It's like, if you want to daven marriage, you can do it. But if for some reason you didn't want, you want over and avela, chas v'sholom. Yeah, that's the concept of reshut. The Mela asks herself the question: why would Tfilas Arvis be reshut? Tfilas Shachris is a Shiur. Avraham Avinu found it became a Shiur. Tfilas Mincha is a Shiur. Yitzchak Avinu found it became a Shiur. What is so special about Arvis? So the Alter Rebbe says to us that why do we say about certain things that they're only a reshus? Why would we say Tfilas Arvis reshus? L'chera just say it's a Shiur like everything else. No, the word reshus, says the Alter Rebbe, refers to something that is so high and it's so elevated that we can't oblige you. A normal human being, even a yid with a nefesh elokis, doesn't have the koyach to reach such a level with his own avodah. Therefore you can't make it an obligation. It's not a chiyuv on him that he doesn't, or that he do that particular thing. Because you can't be mechayev him for something which is beyond his ability to reach the proper fulfillment of it. You follow? That's how the Alter Rebbe teaches it. Therefore, it's announced in the Beis HaMedrash as only a reshus. You follow? It's not a chiyuv. If you really want to make a try, go ahead, but you're not mechuyev. So the Alter Rebbe brings down the Shulchan Aruch, and that's brought down in the Gemara and other places. It's mashma that Yidden are not really obliged in Tfilas Arvis. That we hold according to the opinion that says it's only a reshut. But nonetheless, everybody has taken on themselves that it's like a choiva. Once again, that's a very strange thing. Either it's a choiva or it's not a choiva. No, we took on ourselves as if it would be a choiva. Therefore, everybody doesn't smile it. You follow? And how do you say, how's the old expression, have it, ochenvei, if you don't smile it. You follow? But, be'etzem, it's beyond our obligation. We took it upon ourselves. So the Alter Rebbe said, why is that? So he said, because Tfilas Arvis is such a high thing, an unbelievable level, that we can't really be mechayev a person. Yeah? So would anybody like to suggest for a moment, or think for a second, why would we say that about Tfilas Arvis? Look, Tfilas Shachris is bigger, more sensational than what Tfilas Arvis is. Mincha has the great sensation about it that you're busy. People are taken up and busy in the world, and therefore to stop everything. And daven mincha, that's a tremendous effort. Yeah, that I can understand. What's so special about Tfilas Arvis? So the answer is that that's always, Tfilas Arvis is at the beginning of the night. Yeah, it's the beginning of the night. And the word Mariv is from a word Erev, which means night, but the word Erev can also mean sweet. Sweet, yeah. You say a thing is a rave, yeah, lachek, that means it's sweet. Yeah, the word arev can also mean sweet. There's something very sweet about getting into the darkness and turning the darkness into light, you follow? And particularly when we're talking about the beginning of the darkness, the beginning of the night, according to the Kabbalah, up till Chatzot Laila, the Gvuris and the Dinim are strong. After Chatzot, they already come down. There's like a cooling off of the Toika for the Gvuris. But up until then, there's a lot of darkness represents heavy, Gvuris. And so when you daven Mariv, you have the ability to sweeten the Gvuris, you follow? You have the ability, and that's why it's called Mariv. I sweeten something, you follow? Ma'ariv means I sweeten something. So therefore, Yaakov Avinu, after being the choice of the three Ovis, he walked out of Beersheba and he gets out and he happens to, without his knowledge, it would appear from the simple pshat, he came to the place of the base of Mikdash and he davened there, because later that's what's going to be the source of the whole base of Mikdash, that the Yidden will form a connection with the Boyri Kolo Elohim, you follow? And the Eibusha and the Yidden are going to come together, and therefore to use the expression Vayivga B'mokim, he met up with the place, because the union of the base of Mikdash is going to be like a meeting place between humanity and the Eibusha, you follow? Here we got Yaakov Avinu. He's way out in the middle of a rather frightening desert, and therefore he took from different stones and he put them around his head. And you're familiar with that particular part of it, because he was in a situation where had there been wild animals that wanted to get him, they could have maybe done so, because it was out in the desert. Nonetheless, after having taken those precautions,
Magic.
It's so funny. Every time someone calls me, she turns it off.
so after having taken those precautions, Yaakov Avinu laid down, and it would appear that he slept rather normally. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So what would indicate that he slept rather normally? Because the next posik says an absolutely amazing thing. The posik says, Vayachaloim. He dreamt. Yeah, Yachaloim means the idea of a dream. Yeah, Vehine Sulam Mutzo Arzo V'roishoi Magia Hashomaima. Yeah, he saw a ladder. How do you call it?
Ladder.
Sulam means a ladder. Yeah, Mutzav Arzo, that its feet standing firmly on the ground. V'roishoi Magia Hashomaima, and its head, the head of the, how do you call it, the top of the ladder was up already in the heavens. Yeah, and what did he see? Vehine malachei Elokim oilim v'yorodim boi. And he saw that there were divine angels of the Eibusha going up and going down on the ladder. You follow? So, what is the simple question that occurs to you as an intelligent reader when you see that he saw angels? That's already a question, but he was Yaakov Avinu, so he saw angels. But what is the simple little question that occurs to the intelligent reader?
How are they going
How are they going to be now?
How are they both
Where
going
are
up and down the ladder?
He's dreaming.
Where are angels normally?
Yeah, but
A Yitzira.
They're
Yitzira.
upstairs. They're
yeah.
up in the heavens, right?
Oh, why are they coming down here?
So normally an angel would have to come down first, and then if he had something to do down here, he would do it, and then he would go back up. You follow? Well, normally an angel is not down here, and then it has to go up. You follow? First of all, it's going to come down, then it might go back up again. So the simple question is, what's with these angels that they're coming down? I'm sorry, they're going up, first, and then they're coming down. You follow? So you might say, well, you know, it's not a particularly world-shaking kasha, but we'll see that the world is very busy with that question. And we're going to deal with one or two of the points about it. But first of all, it's customary in these classes that we tell a story. And that leads us to a little story, a well-known one. And you guys ever heard of the Heilige Originator? You heard about him? You ever heard of the Heilige Originator?
No.
There was, he was a grandson of the Mezritcher Magi.
Okay, I've heard of
And he
him.
was called the Rabbi Yisrael Miruzhin. And Ruzhin was a shtetl in Russia. He was also from Russia. But later he had to flee. He fled from Russia. He got out because the authorities were after him. And he got over into Austria and he settled in a place called Tsadigura. Therefore, some of the Ruzhina, the Siddim today are called Tsadigura. He had a whole set of children and grandchildren, and they all became leaders of different Siddiq groups. And he was an unbelievable holy person, the Ruzhina. He was a contemporary with the Tzemach. And they sent messages one to the other. And the Tzemach said that when you refer to the Ruzhina, you have to call him the Heilige Ruzhina. In Yiddish that means the holy Ruzhina. And it's well known that in Lubavitch, our Rabbim didn't send out compliments. You know, they weren't given to complimenting people, you know, with all sorts of description. So if the Tzemach said about the Ruzhina that you have to call him the Heilige Ruzhina, we must be talking about somebody very special. I see nobody seems to be particularly impressed by that, but
No, I am.
I thought that was rather, I thought that was rather impressive. So anyway, the Heilige Ruzhina was the most amazing person. So when he was a boy, the Heilige Ruzhina, he was so unbelievably brilliant that when he learned with the other boys, with the Malamed, he would come up with all the questions that the great Meforshim and other people mentioned before the Malamed could get to it. And so he would pop up and he would say, yeah, but this is a question that this, and he would ask all sorts of diukim and questions, you follow? Even when he was a relatively, in inverted commas, young boy and he was learning Chumash with his Malamed, he would learn in the posik all sorts of kashas, and he would get them before the Malamed had a chance to say, and he would even mention certain kashas that the Harikat Malamed had not even prepared, or he hadn't even noticed that kasha himself. He was very unbelievably sharp, you understand, the Heilige Ruzhina. So the Malamed had prepared this whole piece here, and he prepared our posik, V'hinei malocha yelakim, oilim v'yordim boi. So he was sure that the Heilige Ruzhina, he would ask this question, why are the Malachim going up and then coming down? L'choira, they should be going down and then going up. He was positive that the Heilige Ruzhina would get onto that kasha. You follow? So, you have to listen to the story. So, the Malamed is shaking slightly because he knows for sure that the Heilige Ruzhina is going to ask this kasha. And he teaches this posing and he types it out and everything. And the Heilige Ruzhina sits very quiet and indifferent, you know. And he's just listening like the other students, you know. So the Malam's a bit puzzled by this, you know. And he goes a bit further with the posik and the Heilige Ruzhina. maybe you could find a glass or something. Yeah, in Lubavitch,
It holds a lot of water.
I heard from Alter Chassidim who were in Lubavitch, and they said nobody ever drank out of a bottle. It was a capeda, how do you call it, a cistern thing in Lubavitch. You only drink with a Klali, a course, or a cup or a glass or something, or a lid or something, but you don't pour from the bottle straight down your mouth. And so don't be angry. I'm not trying to make you feel. I'm just telling you something. I think it's good that you should know it. You follow?
I need to get a cup.
I'm just letting you know.
Tell him I need to get a cup.
Oh, he's going to get a cup.
I'm gonna get a cup.
He's going to get a cup.
You're going to get a cup?
I'm gonna get a cup.
Good. That's great. That's very good. Well, you must come back again. I thought we'd lose him.
He'll be back.
So, the Malamad's sitting there, and he sees that the Heilige Ruzna doesn't ask the kasha, you follow? Doesn't say anything. And he's learning for it, and he's teaching the person. And the Heilige Ruzna doesn't ask the question. So he was so, upset by that. He prepared, he prepared to be able to try and answer the question. So when he'd already gone to the next posik, he says, Yisraelik, he says, why didn't you ask the obvious kasha that the Malachim are upstairs? They come down first, not they go up first. Yeah? Why didn't you ask the kasha? So you know what the Heilige Ruzna answered him? He said, of a Maisa is kein kasha net. He said, of a story, there's no kasha. And that's what in Yiddish they say, of a Maisa, of a story that happened, you don't ask any questions. The Gemara says, Maisa shahoya, kachoya, the Maisa that happened, that's the way it was. There's no point in asking any kashas of a thing that happened. That's the way it happened. And therefore, he said he didn't bother asking the kasha. The kasha was very obvious to him, but he didn't bother asking because he said it's a Maisa, but telling a story. He said, of a Maisa, it's kein kasha near. Oh, Maila. I found that very I found that very amusing. The question is very obvious, but the Heilige Ruzna, he didn't bother asking the question. However, he said later that the word sulam is samach lamed mem. Yeah? So he said that teaches us something very important. And that is that it's a Rosh Tevis, how do you call it, an acronym of Sudas Malava Malki. Yeah. Sudas Malava Malki. Yeah. And he said, a little bit, but he said the word Lamed is anyway part of the word Malava Malki, you follow? So it fits in nicely. And he said that teaches us if you eat a malava malki, then you go up into heaven and you come down and the angels are with you and the angels help you and everything. Yeah, so you should always be very medactic to eat a sudas malava malki. Because if you do, the angels, they're with you understand? And the Rabbi, you guys are familiar with the fact that the Rebbe, on a lot of Shabbos, the Rebbe never used to eat a Suda by day, you know that, by day. By Friday night he used to eat, but by day he didn't eat. He just had a little bit by the Farbrengen, or he would go up to his office after the Farbrengen and he would sit for a long time in the summer in his office without touching anything. And then he would go home, and it's apparent that by the time he got home, it wasn't sharp to eat, and it was already late. So they were about to come back to 7:75 minutes. if he went home with Klali, because there was some Shabbos that he didn't go home with Klali. But it would appear that there was certain, and there was once the Rabbi spoke about a whole thing about it, by a Farbringen, that on Shabbos by day you have to be higher than eating. But I would recommend that you eat sort of Shabbos, just to say. but the Rebbe didn't. However,